Well, we have 11 questions that we've been asking everyone,
All right.
and we'll just kind of go. I think it's my turn to
Yeah.
go first this
Yeah.
time. Why are you interested in serving on the Spring Lake Park City Council?
Well, as you know, I've been recently retired about 4 years now. I have time. I can give a commitment to it. I've always wanted to be part of the Spring Lake Park organization here. I thought it would be kind of interesting and fun. I thought maybe I could add something to the mix of what's going on around here, whether pros or cons. A vote is a vote, but it was more of an interesting thought. My kids all went to school here, of course, and I felt, we utilized the school system. We got everything we could out of Spring Lake Park at the time all our kids were going to school. And I felt it was an opportunity for me now to give back a little bit what they received. And I really enjoyed living in the community. Rose and I have always enjoyed living in the community. We got everything. The taxes were great. We moved here because we love the community, and we want to continue to make it better. So, if we could.
Thank you.
Can you give us a brief overview of your education and work experience?
Education-wise, elementary school. I was born and raised in Superior, Wisconsin. Elementary school 8 years, Catholic high school. From there, I wanted to go to college at that particular time, but the Vietnam thing was coming on, and I decided to work the summer before I enrolled in school. Well, it didn't take long. I got my draft papers. That was when they had the draft at that time. So I got drafted, went into the service, came back out, then went back to school for a year. And after a couple of years in the service, I just couldn't get those study habits back after some of the stuff that after that I moved down to the Twin Cities here. So I got the 1 year in college, and I ended up getting into a trade school. I worked, or I went to school for 5 years in an apprenticeship program in the fire protection industry. The fire protection industry was, I worked it for 35 years, and I'm recently retired from it. And of course, all the continuing education that went along with it. I eventually got state licensed. I still carry the state license for a contractor that I do some consulting with at this particular time. And, I guess education is always an ongoing thing. So, and the other part of that question was other than education?
Education and work experience.
Work experience, like I said, 35 years in the industry and fire protection industry. Public safety has always been key to my success, if you want to call it that. I became very close with fire departments around the municipality, or not this municipality, around the state, I should say. Worked very close with fire marshals. Got to know them very well. And at this time, I work as a consultant periodically for an engineering firm in St. Paul, mechanical contracting firm. And I work as a part-time consultant for a mechanical contractor in St. Paul, in the fire protection field as well. So.
Thank you.
What attributes would you bring to the city council?
My good looks, I guess, would probably talk to me. My attributes, I don't know. My business background and my strengths are probably working with people, dealing with problems day in and day out, managing. I think those are all qualities I feel like I've always had. I've always been told that anyways, as far as leadership goes. I was a sergeant in the service. After 18 months, I don't know, hard work, good family man. That's about it.
What do you believe are the city's strengths?
Well, you know, that was one of the questions you had on your application thing that you sent out. The city, I see two things I really feel strong about. Public safety. I think the police department, the fire departments are fantastic here. I think public safety is key in a small community like this, and I think they do a fantastic job. Public Works Department, I think, are second to none around here. I mean, you look at the snow removal and things that are going on around here right now. You know, it was barely done snowing and the plow was going by my house. You know, it's fantastic. Those are probably the two things that I think are really the strong suits of the city. I think, and the park boards, I think, have really done a great job with that as well.
Hank?
What do you feel are the greatest issues facing the city?
Well, of course, issues are going to be constant every year, and I think it's budget. You know, I think managing dollars. I think that's probably the utmost. I think the other one I wrote down here was safety. You know, I think safety of our children is very important to me. The public park systems that we have around here, I felt it was really critical to see that these kids are watched over when they go to these parks. I've had some thoughts and ideas in regards to adding a little bit more protection to them as well. You know, when they're in those particular parks, I've seen a couple of things up at Terrace Park that I get a little upset about, you know, but other than that, those are probably some of the things that I see that could be a little bit better or watched.
Explain your philosophy about the public services, taxes, and budgeting.
Well, as a candidate running before, I felt I had an opportunity to review the city's budget the last time. I was quite impressed by it, you know, with the reserves that you carried here, and looking at the expenditures, the way they come and they go, you know, the pros and cons of that. I felt that those are handled very professionally. I don't hear a lot of complaints from other citizens in regards to the budgets and natures in the city. As far as taxes go, taxes are basically based, I would imagine, on values of your homes, you know, your homeowners thing. It's been very fair. We've seen a rise in them, of course, but of course our property values have gone up as well, so you can expect that to happen. So, you know, as far as the sewer and water rates going up, I'm a senior citizen. I probably won't get affected by that too much, I don't think, according to the letter I read. I think the city's been fair with people here. I really do. I don't think they have anything to complain about. And if you can keep them down, I guess that's the answer. I mean, you don't. There again, you know, you get your spending issues again. And, you know, sometimes you don't have totally control of that. But I think people are managing it. I think seniors. It's important for seniors here, especially if they want to continue living in this area, to make sure that those taxes remain at an affordable rate. I think that's critical. One of the things Rose and I have always talked about, being retired. You know, you're now living on a fixed income. Taxes are critical to us, you know, where we have to be careful how we spend our dollars, because if taxes went skyrocketing, of course we're going to have to look to see what's going to be affordable for us, you know. And we want to continue to live in Spring Lake Park, and I think we can, the way things are being operated and run. I think you're doing a fine job. So don't put that in there.
It's not just me.
I know it.
But thanks, I'll put that in there.
There you go.
ask you a question?
I think so.
You think so? Okay, here we go. So you give me a compliment and then I'm whack here. If you could change some aspect of Spring Lake Park's governance, direction, focus, what would that be?
What would I change? What would I change? Like I said, I've been extremely happy with what's going on in the city. I follow the council. I read your minutes. My cable subscriber doesn't allow me to see it on TV, so I get I do follow up on it. One of the things that, like I said, if I was really to pinpoint, would be again the parks. I think the summers in Spring Lake Park are extremely active. And, when activity in parks are like that, trouble's going to be a brewing. It just happens. Kids are going to be kids. But one of the things that I noticed, and maybe it was only me seeing it, but I seen a drug transaction at one time. And I seen it in the park, and I seen the kid who was doing it. And I thought to myself, how can I fix that? What can I do about it? Well, I can report it. And I know that the police department do whatever they can around here in regards to monitoring that specific thing. But one of the ideas I had was to, and if it was all possible, and if I was ever to get on the council, I wanted to look at probably put some sort of a park liaison, a roving park liaison that would probably go from park to park, period. Not the same park all the time, but a different park on different days of the week. Maybe 1-2 hours a night. Just to identify the troublemakers. And once you identify the troublemakers, I think now you got a face, you got a person. You can look, you can see, and maybe those people are already identified. But I'm not sure if that is or not. But I always felt that an unidentified, some sort of liaison walking through the parks, sitting on a bench, just monitoring what's going on, you can pick up a lot of things. You can really see a lot of things that's happening, and that's a very, very small thing. I don't think it's rampant in this part, but it happens, and I don't want my grandchildren, which live in the neighborhood, who go to that particular park, be exposed to it. And another issue I seen, some boys picking on another boy, and next thing you know, there was 3 boys beating up one boy. Before we could get over there to help this young kid out, these 3 jackrabbits took off, and man, they were fast. I was on my bike and I couldn't stay up on the goes because I wanted to see where they lived. But I could track them down. But that sort of a thing. That would be one thing. I guess that's probably the most important to me. My grandkids are important now. My children are all gone and growing up in these ways, so we're empty nesters.
Thank you.
Over the next 3 to 5 years, what goals do you want to see for, number 1, the police department to achieve, number 2, the liquor store to achieve, and the Parks and Rec department to achieve?
The police department, I think, is managed fantastically. As far as growth, you people probably know better than I do, or even the police people who know what they need for staffing. Of course, people want to see more and more and more. They want to be protected more and more and more. I think the police department does a fantastic job the way they are right now. If growth is in the picture, I would support it. If they are specifically needed, and they can prove that they can put people out there in order to protect this great little city a little bit more, I would support it. I don't ever want to see change. I think with all the activity that goes on throughout the summer around here, they do a great job. As far as the liquor store goes, I voiced my opinion in regards to that when I was running for election. It was a great learning experience for me. I'm going to do it differently in the next 18 months when I run again, but I found out that the liquor store issue was a real thorn in a lot of people's sides, in this council. But my opinion on that particular issue was the fact, after I reviewed financial statements, was it can still operate. you know, in my opinion, and the reason why I said it can still continue to function and operate was because I don't think there's a hands-on operation. I think you got people who you made managers, and you allowed them to run it. And I think you need to review, I think you do have a liquor commission, I would imagine. I think there's one out there, isn't there? And maybe there's got to be a little bit more of a hands-on thing with more of a professional aspect when it comes to it, rather than a representative from the city council sitting in that thing. Maybe you need people to really, who know how to manage the manager. And I feel some of my strengths are in that area. I did 30 years of managing a $10 million company. I know how money moves. I know how it goes, the comings and goings of it. The mold issue, unfortunately, I looked at that particular issue, and that unit you had up on the roof, I felt that was just lack of maintenance. There was an issue there that it got out of control before, and then it became an issue. The people who sold you the unit, I don't know if the warranty was still available on that particular thing or what, but there could have been some investigation that got into it, but before that happened, it got out of control. And we ended up with a big bill. And it's going to be remedied, it's going to be taken care of, and I don't think it was a health hazard, but it's going to be resolved. But the liquor store can be a viable thing for making money here in this city if it's managed properly.
Thank you.
Oh, how about Parks and Rec?
Oh, Parks
That
and
was the
Rec.
third part.
He did. He said they did a fantastic.
Oh, that's police.
No?
No,
They did both.
Oh, he did both. Okay, I'm sorry.
Park and Rec, my kids grew up in the parks playing softball and all the programs that have been developed, and myself coaching it. You couldn't find more people operating this thing. They're doing a great job, and I hope they continue to do it that way too.
Describe your experience in working collaboratively to build consensus.
I don't even know what that means.
How well do you work with others to achieve the goals that would best suit the city?
Well, like I said, in the contracting business, as a team player, you had to be a team player. I had 25 people working for me. We had to work as a group in order to be profitable. We had to do it in order from the time we got a project until we closed the project. From teamwork to a general contractor, to the project superintendent, to my foreman, to the office staff, starting from A to Z. For me, I never had a problem with it. I thought that was part of my strengths. I didn't have an issue.
Is your business personal schedule flexible enough to accommodate our normal meeting schedule and to allow for an occasional day or early evening function? And will you have adequate time to read your packet and do the necessary research prior to council meetings?
The answer is no doubt I will. I mean, there's, like I said, being a retired person, if I can go in the den and get away from Rose for a while, I usually do that. And I'd probably take that time to do that.
You do know that this is being recorded.
No.
Sorry.
Is it?
Just for our vacant council member.
Sorry. Now you're telling me.
Communications is you're gonna send Rose a copy.
God, I just got out of the doghouse. No, actually, that wouldn't be a problem. I mean, I'm looking. This is a 18-month commitment, for me until election time again. Hopefully, I can do a little better trying to get elected the next time when it comes around. But that's 18 months. That's 36 meetings. We're talking here. That's not really a big deal in regards to a committee sitting on. I would enjoy it. It would fulfill my day.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to assist us in considering you as a candidate?
Look at my notes here. One of the things that I always felt that, and just maybe if this is the last question, in closing, I felt that the marketing Spring Lake Park is critical. I figure for the future of Spring Lake Park, we have limited space for commercial construction, or not construction, but commercial businesses. I think if commercial businesses were to leave Spring Lake Park, there's got to be some sort of a plan set in motion that's going to try to market other commercial businesses to come to Spring Lake Park. Not just commercial businesses, but vacancies for homes within the area. I think that's critical. And I think the only way you can go about really doing that, with a little thought I've put into it, and I don't even know if it's realistic or not, but I've given thought to marketing some sort of real estate associations. By selling Spring Lake Park to realty associations, by putting together possibly some sort of a marketing brochure. A marketing brochure was always critical in a small business that we run. Getting your name out there, selling what Spring Lake Park has to offer. And I touched on all the things that Spring Lake Park has to offer, from the public safety aspect to the parks, to the educational system that we have here in the school district, are very critical. You know, the public works people that do a fantastic job. I mean, there's so many pluses that are going on in this community, and it's unfortunate we can't get the word out to it because the vacancies are still there. And if there's some way in order to get it out to people, then let's give it a shot. I think in an 18-month fill-in position, maybe one thing that I would maybe bring up, but whether it's followed through and I was to return after the 18 months, that would be another issue. So, but that would be the area I'd be real interested in. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.